It's mid-September 2023. I got this delivered to me a couple days ago, but I decided to wait until I was able to film the unboxing. So let's get right to it. This is, of course, my latest purchase, and even though I say this a lot, this might be my last one for a little while. I might just go on a hiatus because I definitely have a lot more than I need. Now, I don't have many videos in my library right now, but if you go back a little bit, you'll see the review I had on the Brass Penzie S1, which I believe is one of the highest end locomotives you can get in HO scale. This is the opposite. This is the cheapest locomotive I bought in years, and also going by the box you can tell it's very small. It's so cheap it doesn't even have its original packaging, but I got it for a very convincing price. No one else bid on it. I washed it for a couple of weeks. It kept going $1 lower every time. Then I decided to give it a try because why not? It's not in the best shape, but I'll be more than happy to bring this back to pretty respectable for this kind of locomotive. Here it is. Alright, let's take a look at the locomotive itself. Combining the price with the shipping and the taxes and of course the bid itself, the total price came out at $26.01. There it is. Yeah, this is got ourselves a loose cab here. So what I like to do is I like to take this out of the box, maybe give it a little bit of a test run. I'd like to take it apart a bit and try to work on it to improve its performance, because I know that this, going by the wheels, yeah, they're pretty dirty. Obviously no one knows when the last time this ran except the person who owned it previously. That is a very interesting coal load. That's definitely not original. This looks like I don't know, it doesn't remind me of coal. This reminds me of like a fine kind of some kind of fine food that you might feed your pet or something. It's alright. He has a little bit of loose pieces. Yeah, look at that. Everything seems to be intact. The tender looks pretty good. As for the locomotive, we could tell here that, get in focus. Yeah, you can tell the cylinders need to be repainted. This thing overall is very dusty, and I'm pretty sure this is not going to be a very smooth runner out of the box. It was tested and supposedly it runs both directions and the light's on, but I know for sure that I'm going to make it better than it is right now. This is going to be a fun little project. It should be pretty easy because it's just an 040, a Mantua 040. So I'm going to give this a test drive, then I'm going to take it apart, do some cleaning, a little work on it. Might even give this some paint, although it's not going to be matching the rest of the locomotive. going to be a bit glossier. And then I will do a review on this locomotive and give this a proper run. So let's get on to the next phase of this. Okay, I just put the locomotive and tender together. I did nothing else. No lubrication, no cleaning, nothing. I figured I would just want to see how it is immediately out of the box. Now, I don't really have an opportunity to run it because there is a grain train. And that one's taking up the line right now. So I figured that, well, I'm just going to have to wait for that to depart later on so I can actually do the official running of this when it's all cleaned up. So, since it's in a less than desirable condition, it's probably best to just have this run on the rollers. And, well, here we go. Let's see what it does. Yeah, as you see, the headlight works. It runs. It does exactly what it's supposed to. See how that headlight looks. I mean, it's not flickering. Let's just see how low I can get this. Well, I gotta say, it's a little bit better than I thought it would be, but, it's, there's always pride, and it's a lot of fun to make a locomotive as cheap and as, not quite low end, but just very simple, and make it a really well-refined locomotive afterwards. And all it takes is just doing some work on it. It's not perfect, but yeah, it does the job. Boy, that is an interesting scheme. If the Southern was going to have green locomotives, I don't think they would put them on switchers. I'm not even sure if the switcher they had looks anything like this. But I got a kick out of it. I really do. And this may not be the first one of these I'll collect. I'm also on the hunt for a Norfolk and Western one, as well as a slope back tender with the Conrail scheme. But this, yeah. Alright, so that's going to conclude this for a bit. And now on to the real fun part, and that is kind of cleaning it up a little bit. So, that moves us on to phase 3. Let's get this going, and I figured I might just show the pictures of that rather than take a video of that, because I don't know how long it could take, and there could be a lot of, just a lot of outtakes if there's any mistakes or anything flops or something takes longer than usual. I figured I'd just show the pictures and give you a montage of that. So I'll be back with you guys in a little bit. Okay, now that the grain train is out of the way, I'll be able to run this around the loop here. But first, I'd like to give this a nice initial test run. Yeah, so I put it back together. It's lubricated, cleaned up, did the best I can. And when I did get this locomotive taken apart and all, I noticed that there was a couple of things that were not the way they should be, because there's the steps on the rear of the tender are not there, and the wheel, which is supposed to have a traction tire on it, is missing. So it's just a wheel with a gap in there. I'm curious to see how that's going to affect the pulling performance, but it should still run fine, and even if it can't pull as much, that's okay, because I don't expect too much out of an 040. So without further ado, let's get this rolling. This is about 38. There we go, this is about 25. That is not bad at all. We're getting a little bit of light out of the headlight because I'm pretty low on the voltage at this point, but look at that. And just like any good switcher locomotive, the locomotive definitely has some lateral movement to it. You can see the shaking, that's typical of a switcher, and I think that gives it a little bit more character. I'll see how slow I can get this. Here we are at 20. It's just going, it's pretty nice. I like that. Now, of course, it's going to be a little bit different when it's not on the rollers, but that is really nice to see, especially for this kind of locomotive. Now let's see how it is in forward. Really, I'm not even going to use that much of throttle. This is at 35. It's very good. This is very well done. Alright, here we are around 20 again. It looks very good. I know it's going to be different when it's on the rails, but this is really nice. Alright, so now to give this thing a little quick review, basically anything I might know about it. So, this is a Mantua 040, obviously the Southern number 27. Now this was released in 1978, so at 45 years old, it's going pretty well. It may not be exactly as it was when it was fresh out of the factory, but its performance is good enough. Now, Mantua has given a couple of names for this 040, varying on what kind of tender it has. So if it has this particular tender, it's a pony. If it's a camelback, that one's known as a goat. And if it has a slopeback tender, it's simply just called a switcher. Now, I don't think that this is a very accurate locomotive. I mean, this tender, that boiler, that cab, that front end are all recycled parts from other Mantua models, but I'm not too bothered by that. I mean, that scheme is definitely not realistic, but it's really, it's a novelty. I like it a lot, and it was enough for the very low price I picked it up for. So I believe that was the only year it was made. The other interesting scheme I might pick up from that is a Norfolk and Western. And even though they would be two of the same locomotive, this one I know is already different because with that coal load, it's not really supposed to be like this. There's supposed to be a completely different covering here where only about part of it is actually coal. It shouldn't be like this, obviously. So it kind of looks like a gondola instead. Heck, even that load. Before I kind of made this a little bit shinier, it definitely looked like caviar. So I also painted a couple other parts of this. I'm no expert of painting models by any means, but definitely looks a lot better. Don't have any chip paint on the cylinders. Doesn't look all dusted up on the pilot anymore. It definitely looks a little bit more solid. And also note that the traction tire of this is missing. That's fine though, it can still pull a pretty decent load. Maybe just not as much, and I don't have to worry about having a traction tire kind of disintegrating and getting my track dirty, so I don't have to worry about that at least. Now otherwise it's a very simple locomotive. It's very easy to work on. Like I said, except for the running gear, it was a cinch. No problem at all. And even though it doesn't have all those, some of those parts are missing, it runs like a dream. It runs about as good as one of these can get. I do have a couple variants of the Camelback, or should I say goat, and they run really well. Of course, they're from the mid-80s onwards, but they aren't too different from this. It has the same running gear and such, but overall I'm pretty happy with this. I'm glad I got it. I can't say that this is a locomotive I want to keep for life. I mean, I just kind of was interested in a very cost-effective but interesting restoration job, and I'm really glad I did it. So with that said, I'd like to thank you very much guys for watching, and now I'm going to run it around the layout a bit and show some video off of that. So thank you very much, and we'll see you next time.